Good afternoon. Let's call this meeting to order. And if I could have Trustee Gonzalez lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this point, do we have any public comment? None. Okay, so then we will go to the next item, which is the appointment of district employees.
We did not fill out a comment card, but we do have one gentleman, I think, that wishes to speak.
Okay.
So,
Could you fill out the little form for us, please?
Yes.
You can do it after you speak. I just need to know your name.
you'll have to read it since it's a public.
Okay, since we have public comment, the San Bernardino Community College Board of Trustees offers an opportunity for the public to address the board on any agenda item prior to or during the board's consideration of that item. Comments must be limited to 5 minutes per speaker and 20 minutes per topic. At conclusion of public comment, the board may ask staff to review a matter or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. As a matter of law, members of the board may not discuss or take action on matters raised during public comment unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion or action in open session. Anyone who requires a disability-related modification or accommodation in order to participate in the public meeting should contact the Chancellor's office as far as in advance of the board meeting as possible. So I have one public comment. If you would state your name.
Hello?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Board of Trustees. Good to see you all again. My name for the record is Paul Derosario. I've been a student at San Bernardino Valley College since 2019. Since June of 2020, I've been enrolled in the Film, TV, Media program. In just 3 semesters, from June 2020 to December 2021, I have completed all 14 academic classes offered in that program. This spring semester, I'm currently one of 5 students who have been picked by the gracious staff at Kdcr to work as an intern, knowing the ins and outs of the studio there, learning about what it takes to put on a program to air from public broadcasting and also FNX, First Nation Experience. For the past 3 weeks, we've been guided by our supervisor, Tim Steidel, who's gone over us the equipment, the cameras, several of what we need to go on shoots for programs. And I've also been taught by Rick and Shireen on how to record promos for our radio programming. And mainly for the past 3 weeks, I've been working on promos for several of the programs that are airing on Kvcr. Promos are a top priority for at the station, because how else are people going to know what to watch or when to see it on Kvcr? And I just wanted to express my sincere thanks to Anthony Papa and Rick Dulac, Tim Stilo, and Shireen, and Barbara for giving us the opportunity to come here to exercise our skills as film, TV, media students and to learn a professional to get an insight into what it takes to have a professional career in the media industry. And thank you to the board also for keeping the station available on campus for us to use. Thank you.
Thank you. And you'll fill out that form for us, right? Fill out that form so we have it
Yes, ma'am.
officially. Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair?
Yes. Trustee
There we go.
Longbill.
Okay. I'm sorry, excuse me, what was the student's last name again? What was your? Paul Delisario?
Paul Delisario.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Paul, did they, during the course of all the various instructions, see, am I?
Are we asking questions, or are
Excuse
you?
me, I was going to ask him a quick question, but it's not important, not necessary, it wasn't necessary, it's not vital. It's not vital if there's any reason why I shouldn't.
Yeah. If there's an issue that comes up, we can bring it up later to put on the agenda.
It was just going to be an observation related, it was a question to which I already know the answer, which I was going to use to make a point. That was all it was.
Okay.
And we've already talked longer than it would have taken. So I'll just forget about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we got your last name. If you'll fill out that form, then we have it for the record. The next item, and I'm calling for a motion and a second before we can have any discussion, and that is a consideration of approval to appoint district employees.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. Discussion. Any discussion? None?
I don't know what it is.
It's in your agenda?
It's the appointment of employees.
Chair Harrison, if I may, I'd like to share with, Chair Harrison, if I may, I'd like to share with the board a little bit about Dr. Noemi Ornelas,
Where's your agenda?
who is up for consideration for the appointment of the Vice Chancellor position. May I?
Yes, please.
Thank you. So Dr. Ornelas has been the Associate Superintendent and Vice President at Allen Hancock College for over 7 years now, about 7.5, 8 years. Allen Hancock College is on the central coast of California, and she comes with experience in both student services and academic services. She's a first-generation college student, actually a community college alum, a California community college alum herself, and is also first-generation Mexican-American. Some of her accomplishments have included, when she was at Cuesta College, Dr. Ornelas served as the college's lead on a response team to restore their accreditation, and has been instrumental as a lead on the Hancock College's accreditation team. At Hancock, she's implemented the college's student equity plan, her outreach and recruitment plans, non-credit student success and support plan, student equity and achievement plans, numerous other equity programs, both within student services and instruction. And she even was the key person as they rolled out their Hancock Promise. Some of her recognitions included Future Leaders of America Latino Legacy Award, awarded to her from Cal Poly St. Louis Obispo, as an honored alum in that recognition. She was Pacific Coast Business Times 40 Under 40 person, and Santa Barbara County's Commission for Women's Service Award. Those are just a few of the many recognitions that she has been awarded through her career. You know, I received an email from her president, her current president, that he was going to send out to the campus pending the vote here tonight. And I think it just kind of sums up the kind of person she is and the talent that she has. So if I may paraphrase a portion of the email. It says, "There is no doubt that our programs and services have been transformed over the course of the years here at Hancock. Whenever something needed to be done, Noemi raised her hand. Because of that, We have a student emergency fund, an emergency loan program for veterans, expanded services at one of our centers, the Hancock Promise, Bulldog Bound, Student Ambassadors, and a new center for veterans, Dreamers, and for basic needs, not to mention a new wellness center that will open this next year. Without fail, after very successful projects, Dr. Ornelas came to me and shared the names of the staff members who made it happen, never taking credit personally. Our friends in San Bernardino are doing good work at an extremely high level, but they better get ready to up their game with their new colleague coming aboard. So with that, I encourage the board to approve the recommendation for Dr. Ornelas as our Vice Chancellor of Educational and Support Services. Thank you.
Move approval?
Any other discussion? No? Ready for the vote?
No, thank you, Chancellor Rodriguez.
Would you speak into the microphone, please? And I thank you for it, because if you do, I don't have to wear these rabbit ears.
No, thank you. I mean, I'm sorry. You have to remind us, Gloria, because sometimes we take it for granted that everybody can hear everything.
Thank you.
Anyway, I just want to say that I've been here for quite some number of years. That position is it's new in terms of what you want to do, understand, in terms of the great opportunities that can come to our district in terms of grants, in terms of the direction, in terms of, I know that we've talked about having a relationship with the different companies, agencies. That person has to be out there and has to be a strong advocate. There will continue to be many opportunities in terms of grant. And that's what we need. We need to, she says she doesn't, I just met her, she says she doesn't sleep. She sleeps standing up because she's ready to go to the next meeting the following morning. So I'm going to take a video of that just to make sure that happens. But no, I think it's someone who can really have a vision, because I think we lost a lot of opportunities previously for the people that were involved with that. Really, the board and I myself am guilty of that. We really didn't pay as much attention to the great opportunities that we had if that person was able to go, for example, and I know that there was some discussions here about Toyota and establishing relationships with them. I think that's
Thank you,
great
Trustee.
opportunities.
Thank you, Trustee Reyes.
Thank you.
I think we're ready for the vote. All those, we do not have any student trustees with us today. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed or abstaining? None? It passes. Congratulations. You have your work cut out for you. And then we have, the next item is the approval of the Kdcr plan. I'm assuming that before, that we need a motion and a second in order to have the discussion and the presentation. I'm assuming that we have a presentation. So could I have a motion to approve and a second, please?
Longville, move.
So moved.
Second.
Second, okay. So now we can go into discussion, and I think the discussion really is a presentation. Madam Chancellor, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, give me just a quick second here. So thank you for allowing us to bring the plan back to this group. You know, for the past six, 7 months, we've been working hard on this plan to capture what we believe is the interest of this board. We listened to your comments. We listened to the words that you have stated. We listened to our communities. And this is what we heard. We heard 3 things. We heard have significantly more students working and learning within KVCR. Second, have KVCR be fiscally sustainable. And third, provide local radio and TV content for our region. We think we've captured all of these 3 items in the plan that you all were recently sent. But even prior to this plan being approved, we got to work to put together processes in place towards these goals. In fact, we're calling them strategic directions, right? So that we can be more consistent with our other planning documents. In the past few months, we've had countless meetings with a great number of individuals. We've met with the management team of KVCR on an almost weekly basis, talking about contracts, programming, personnel, budget, etc. All of the things, all of the items that it takes to run a KVCR radio and television station. We've had several meetings with employees to discuss their role within the organization, what would they like to see as the future of KVCR, and the solutions that they might have towards these strategic directions. Some of the takeaways from those meetings is that they were glad that we came to them to talk with them. They felt that they were heard. KVCR is a part of SBCCD, and that is what they want, is to truly be, we were saying partner. We're not going to call them a partner with us any longer. What we're going to say is that we are collaborating with KVCR, and they are collaborating with us. A partnership is something that we engage in with an entity outside of our district. And we want to be clear that KVCR is indeed a part of our district. So they also talked to us about the need for specific personnel, and we're going to go over that within the plan. You know, the conversation didn't come without some criticism. You know, one of the criticisms was that the district needed to take some ownership for the shortcomings within KVCR. Right? And that's a true statement. We should. I should. And we told them that we do. That we do take ownership for some of the shortcomings that happened within KVCR. Overall, they liked the plan that we presented to them, the plan that we will be presenting to you today, and they're willing to pitch in wherever they can to help make this successful. And with the community and the community engagement sessions, the takeaways from those conversations included they were very much interested in partnerships in programming, right? They were interested in having students work side by side with other professionals within KVCR. They were not interested in a student-run stations. So, and there was, again, some criticism. They were looking for stabilized leadership. They felt that the station, that KVCR had too many leaders come and go over the past few years, and that there was no follow-through on some of the promises and the commitments made to the community, and that we needed to market the station better so that more folks within the community knows what an asset it is. And they also stated that we needed to rebuild trust within KVCR and the community. Some of these things are difficult to hear, but it is the truth as our community expressed to us. So those are things that we need to take into consideration, and we think we have within this plan. Overall, though, they liked our plan and were very, very complimentary of the direction that we were proposing, right? And they were willing to be partners with us. So it ended extremely positively. You will note at the end of the plan that was sent to you all, there was a wordle with the words of how the individuals felt about moving forward in the future of KVCR, and they were all very, very positive words. So, again, countless meetings with KVCR and staff, faculty and management, looking at the operational needs, the budget needs, curriculum needs, facility needs. The SBVC team was excited about this new collaboration and working with KVCR, and KVCR is also just as excited in working with both colleges, both Valley and Crafton Hills College. So, also, in the last 5 or 6 months, we've been able to secure over $6 million to help sustain KVCR. and have asked the state legislature for $15 million over the next 3 years and $5 million in ongoing state budget. The conversation was well-received, and so I am optimistic about that. And I'm optimistic because our students and our community, and quite frankly, this district deserves that line item in their budget. So a lot of work has been done in the past several months, and I hope the plan that you received, the plan that we're going to hear about today, meets the board's expectations. And I want to thank those of you who have already given your positive feedback about the plan. So with that, let's go into the presentation.
Thank you, Chancellor. Question?
I just process, I'm uncomfortable, like we've changed our process, taking a motion in a second before we've received the presentation, because like if you want to change something, now you got to get the motioner to amend their motion, and so that's not our normal process. Usually we get the presentation first, then we, ask for, so it's just uncomfortable when you do it that way. I just want to, the previous process was more comfortable.
Noted.
So are you suggesting that we set aside the motion and do the presentation first?
I mean, because technically, we just, move forward approving something that we haven't really, it's not like a detailed presentation where you know what you're approving, and so, like technically, 4 people can just vote and just move forward without any of us really having any say-so. Like, I know you guys are not like that, but technically you could, and so let's not, I don't want to operate, because we've never had practiced it like that before, that's new, so.
Yeah. Although I'm assuming, because I received my packet with the plan several days ago.
Yeah, it's not detailed enough to know what I'm approving, still, I got questions, so. I'm just saying, from a process standpoint, that's not our normal way of doing it, and I would prefer that we receive presentations first before we see the motion in a second.
Okay.
Because the motion could have included, hey, can we change this word, can we make this blue, and so now, technically, I would have to seek John's, the change, and, yeah.
If there are any changes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Is our attorney present?
yeah. You can withdraw your
I
motion.
was just looking to,
No, he's not present,
he's
sir.
not present, no, okay. Madam Chair, if I may, is this microphone live now? It is live?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about it? All right. So through the chair, if I wanted, my understanding in most parliamentary procedure rules, but there are different forms, the ones most people are familiar with, Robert's Rules of Order, but there's a variety of forms, and not all of them are adopted by different agencies, and some have their own rules and things. So I don't recall if we've actually made a specific adoption of a rule on how we go through the process of adopting a motion and so forth. But the most common one used is a method, Joseph, where they actually do start out by introducing a motion and getting a second, on the assumption that if you can't even get a motion or a second, you don't have to waste time with it. That's where the basic thing came from.
Yeah, I'm just saying, we've never done
Yeah,
that.
no, I'm just saying that is my understanding. So
Yeah.
since we don't have an attorney here,
So let's do this. We have a motion, we have a second, and we will have discussion, and part of that discussion is the presentation. If there are any things that need to be changed or in some way altered, then it has to be an amendment to the motion, the way we are now. So let's move forward on that basis, okay?
so Madam Chair, did I understand you correctly to say you've got a motion, now you want the discussion, then the presentation?
We will have the presentation
then the
and discussion.
Good, thank you.
Okay? Clear to everybody? Yes? And then if there are any changes, then we can make the amendments to the motion.
Yes.
Okay? All right, so let's continue with the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So just so you know, this presentation is just a way of facilitating the conversation more than anything. Everything that you're going to see here is in the plan. They're pretty much copy and paste from it. So that's what you'll see, and just to kind of summarize it again, to guide the conversation more than anything. We call in this plan Inspiring Possibilities. I think you saw from those words that there's a lot of possibilities, there's a lot of inspiration happening with Kdcr. So we want to make sure that we follow through with that as well. We're calling them strategic directions, as the Chancellor mentioned. Based on the strategic plan that we're embarking as a district, we want to make sure that we have the language, and you'll see that in the following presentation, the strategic plan as well. One of the things that we want to make sure is that we have the language that is across the district, and that we know what we mean when we talk about strategic directions or goals or objectives of different things. So the three different items that are in the Kvcr plan are strategic directions. The first one is to align SBCCD, Institute of Media Arts, we call it the IMA, with Kvcr. The second one is to ensure fiscal sustainability for Kvcr. And the third one, to provide TV and radio content relevant to the SBCCD community. We feel that once we accomplish those three things, the students in our community will benefit from accomplishing that.
Question?
Yes, question.
Thank you. So Kdcr and SBDC are working together. Originally in the early plan, Crafton was mentioned as well. We're doing improvements to Crafton. They have things to do with that sort of thing that would be covered by Kdcr. Is Crafton part of this plan or maybe a future plan?
It is. So we started the conversation late this year, and Tony Papa's here. He can jump in as well because he's been having the conversation with Crafton. The first conversation that we had was with the IMA Valley because that's the integration, the past plan that we wanted to do. But we continue the conversations. Tony meets with them on a monthly basis with the dean and the faculty member of the IMA. And then lately, he's been meeting with Crafton faculty and dean as well. So he's been making a lot of progress. It's not here yet because we haven't made any significant progress to incorporate into the plan as to what is needed to make sure there's a good coordination between Crafton and Kdcr, but that is part of the plan. We are making progress with alignment as well. And we know that the digital piece will work with Crafton a lot more than anything. Tony, anything else that you want to say? Anything else you want to talk about the relationship with?
The digital piece is correct. The ability to work with Crafton digitally from afar on all student-related projects for the station has been what we've been discussing. There's different levels. You'll see the different levels here in the plan. But we certainly want to bring them on now that we've created the pipeline and the processes with IMA.
In regards to strategic direction number 1, we had a conversation, as the Chancellor mentioned, with Kdcr and the IMA, with the dean, the faculty, staff from Kdcr. And we wanted to find out what are the different ways that we can involve our students at Kdcr. It was very open conversation. And at the end of the meeting, we came up with 6 different ways that the students can participate at Kdcr. One of them was to have classes or lab hours, and that's one of the facilities requests that we have as we move forward. I'll mention that. Another one is to have paid internships. Student Del Rosario, I just mentioned, he's one of those students that's already participated in Kdcr. There will be a total of 6 students from IMA at that point, once we're finishing. But I know Tony and his team has been doing interviews to make sure that we have those paid internships participating right away. We will have unpaid internships as well. Someone just coming wanting to learn experience, whatever it is, we'll have those opportunities as well. We will have work study as well. One of the things that we talked with staff at Kdcr was the work study. That in the past, they used to do work study significantly, and then at some point it stopped. So we want to make sure that we bring that back. And the students from all areas of Valley have opportunities to come and participate at Kdcr. We talked about opportunities for English department major, for arts, for any type of majors within Valley have opportunities to participate, business, because there are operations that could benefit those students as well. It's not just necessarily the IMA students as well. We also talked about having a pool of students for projects. Whenever there's a project in the community, make sure that we have students. I had a conversation with Trustee Harrison one day, and she said that she had an interview, and a lot of the people that were interviewing her were students from the IMA. So we want to make sure that the students continue to have those opportunities as well. And then the last one is volunteers, kind of similar to the pool of students for projects. The pool of students for projects, it could be for credit, could be for assignment, could be for anything. And volunteers could be just because they want to learn or because they want to have a chance to be out there in the community helping out, volunteering. So those are the 6 different ways that we thought the students could participate at KVCR.
I have a question. I think it's very, very good. When we talk about volunteers, have you taken into account, or the general manager from KVCR, that there are some people in the community that are willing to come in and do some free things? I recommended one person that did a great job with a Hauser, and he's willing to come in, and I suggested that he meet with the chancellor, because he doesn't want to get paid, he just wants to do that, and he was the behind the scene, he was the one that was with the camera. So I think we need to take advantage of those opportunities. So I don't know where would that fit in, volunteer, but you make it sound like it's volunteer within the campus, but also we have volunteers in the community. So let's take advantage of everything if we're going to really be very effective overall.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, so definitely, just to answer the question, the reason I say students, because this section is for students, but we definitely accept volunteers from the community at all of our campuses. Valley, Crafton, you approve those volunteers on a monthly basis. So whenever there's a community member that wants to volunteer with us, we definitely make sure that we do that. We have a board policy just for that as well. Definitely.
Trustee Williams.
One of the things that I would say to consider, so you don't have to list out like paid internships, unpaid internships, work study, and then the projects and the volunteer. If you just say work-based learning, it includes all of those things, service learning projects, mentorship, it gives you a broader range of things that you can, place students in if you look at the work-based learning continuum, and, all of those things are included in it. And then with the class and lab hours, I would feel more comfortable if it said college credit, like an option for college credit. Like what I'm advocating for is, at some point in time, we have a degree and certificate. So, I'd like to really see KVCR generate FTS, and, so that's the thing that I'm advocating for, versus just, because classes and workshops could be a lot of different things, but the college credit is the thing that adds value to students. Or one of the things, I should say.
Definitely, and that's what the classes lab hours are. They pretty much, and some of the unpaid internships as well. It's to generate credits for them, the units. That's pretty much what it is.
But it's vaguely written now, so it could not mean college credit. You could do something else. It could just be a lab that, you're not earning credit for.
I know that the faculty has been working for the past 2 years at least on developing the curriculum and developing I'm assuming that has developed a certificate.
It's
And
not,
so,
it's not in the catalog, so.
Trustee Williams, on page 20 of the actual plan itself, it discussed FTS generation and
Page
career
20?
pathways.
He doesn't have
Of the
that
actual plan, the
Yeah,
actual
we don't-
plan that
yeah,
was
we don't
distributed in
have
Govinda.
Here.
So
I was going to show him.
if you have not, how many people received it? I received a paper copy, because I like to
I have
make
it, I got
notes.
it.
But it was on Governa for at least 5 days ago.
Yeah, we got it after that, but if you didn't bring a computer with you, you don't have
Oh.
it in front of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't see it in there.
And then also on page 19, it discusses degree certificates and curriculum.
I didn't see this at all. no.
I guess I'm the only one that's still getting a paper copy plus. And I really do enjoy my paper copy.
May I ask a question?
Yes.
As you have the plan in front of you, can you tell me if it says how many hours? I know that faculty was very concerned, as were past and current students, about not having access other than a few, 90 minutes a week or something. So have we been able to collaboratively come up with some additional hours for those students to be at Kdcr when they're not the 5 or 6 of them interning?
Yes. Actually, one of the positions that Vice Chancellor Torres is going to go into is a lab technician. And one of the reasons for that technician is so that we can allow students to be in the facilities, in the rooms, in the labs, at a time when it's convenient for them. So if a student wants to come in at 2 in the afternoon to do whatever work that they do within KVCR, there will be somebody there that can work with the student to accommodate that. We felt it would be better to have set times that are convenient for students, and not just have it just according to their, the class and the lab hours.
Well, that's marvelous, and I hadn't even thought of that. But have we increased the number of hours that classes can take place in that facility?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so
Yes.
as you see on the screen, a couple items that we have. We have 3 needs and requests that we have in the plan in order for strategic direction number 1 to be successful. One of them is the lab technician, which will be the liaison between KVCR and the IMA. Another one is a network specialist to oversee the network alignment between the IMA and KVCR. And then the facilities. We have a request of about $1 million to make sure that we set up the facilities for the students more than anything. So what we're going to do, we already have a space identify which room is going to be. Within that room, we're going to convert it to a classroom setup, and then we're going to put 2 offices, one for the lab technician and another one for the faculty member. So the students can, and there's a back door as well within that room. So the students and the faculty and the lab technician can come and join and be at KVCR whenever it's convenient for them, whenever they feel necessary. Right now, the space is very limited, and that room is not set up for a classroom. They can come and they can use the computers. We have computers in there. They can come and they do use the computers, but it's not ideally set up for a classroom. And that's one of the reasons why we're requesting this $1 million. There's also another piece in the $1 million that is for storage space. Right now, I'm not sure if you've been to the KVCR studio. It's surrounded by curtains. If you see behind the curtains, we have a lot of equipment that we don't have space to store that equipment. And that's why the studio looks a little bit smaller. Once we're able to move the equipment out of the studio will become a little bit bigger to facilitate more space for the students as well to come in. Tony and his team have worked with a faculty member that they have created a calendar where the faculty member just puts in the calendar, we're going to be there. They don't have to request permission. They said, we're going to be there at this time. And so that Tony and his staff know when they're going to be there to make sure that whatever it is available for them. So there are no more restrictions as to you have to be here 2 hours or 6 hours. There's no more restrictions of that.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
I have a question. Madam Gloria, I have a quick question. You're saying $1 million. Where is that $1 million going to come from? Is that going to come from the general fund, or is that going to come from the grant that, from the state? How are we going to be able to, because I think it's good, but we have to be also very careful as to, we're talking about being very minded in terms of budget.
Madam Chair, if I could just make a suggestion,
yeah.
I think it would be really helpful if we let Vice Chancellor Torres actually make his presentation, and then we could ask questions at the end, because I think a lot of these questions would be answered through the course of the presentation.
There is a budget in here,
Yeah.
in the materials that you received some time ago.
Just a suggestion.
To answer the question,
I agree. Proceed.
it's Measure CC. That's the bond funding. That's where it will come from.
Continue with your presentation, please.
So that's strategic direction number 1. And the funding, as we mentioned, the lab technician, the network specialist, just to go in more in detail as to what they're going to pay for. You approve a Media Academy endowment. They have $9 million where they earn interest, and those 2 positions will be paid for from the gains of that endowment. That's where that money will come from. In regards to the facilities, the money, the $1 million we were requesting that will come from Measure CC. There's an allotment already in a valley that we had to set aside for infrastructure, and that's what, since it's a valley campus, we're recommending that it comes from there. There is space, there is room under from the infrastructure monies that they have, Measure CC.
Yeah.
That's what we're recommending those monies come from. So one of the things that we wanted to make sure in here, over the past few, and with this I'm going to mention again, when we go to strategic direction number 2, we have been cleaning the budget for KVCR significantly with Tony's help and Larry's help as well. Both of them have been meeting regularly, and we knew that we were not going to have enough funding to fund these 2 positions. So when we had a conversation with AIMA, we wanted to make sure that we had the funding and also the resources to make sure that our students had, so that they wouldn't be looking for staff to find where to be, when to be there. So we wanted to make sure that these 2 positions were funded by the IMA endowment as well. So this doesn't affect the KVCR budget. These 3 actually. Okay. Strategic goal number 2, ensures financial sustainability for KVCR. So one of the things that we've been doing, as I mentioned to you, is Tony and Larry have been working really hard at cleaning the budget, and they have achieved that. Tony and Larry know every single line item that's in the budget, and that significantly reduced the budget to what is supposed to be the baseline. We call it the baseline of the KVCR budget. And one of the things now that we know moving forward is that in order for us to continue moving forward with KVCR, we need to make sure now that we know that the expenses are where they're supposed to be, we need to start looking and working and generating revenues. Because there are two line items in the budget, revenues and expenses. We've done everything we possibly can with expenditures. Now we need to start working on the revenue side. We need to start working on increasing revenues for the next 3 years. We received the grant from the state, the $4 million. It's about $1.3 million every year. Because of that grant, we're able to have balanced budgets at KVCR for the next 3 years. We hasn't been officially, we hear that we're going to get another $1 million from the federal government as well.
It's official.
It's official, yes. Thank you.
What federal agency?
You want to answer that? What federal agency?
Is there a federal agency that gave us that, or is it a?
Yes, it's through Pete Aguilar's office, through that agency.
Yeah. It's already been announced. It's a press release that shows all of the different organizations that receive funding, and KVCR was one of them. Specifically, if I remember the press release, I read it 2 weeks ago, it was for the whole integration of students into the whole media academy. I call it academy, institute, whatever you want to call it. So that one has already been announced.
Yes, that's correct.
And Tony can help me.
In a good way.
But if I remember correctly, there were 3 items in that proposal. One of them is to have students involved in the creation, students involved. The second one is creation of local content. And then the third one, the hiring of a development director. Am I missing one, Tony? Anything? No, you're good? Okay, I'm good. So those are the 3 items that were in the proposal.
I do have a question on the, we have used the old model for the general manager, and I'm assuming that you are looking at the job description for the conversion to an executive director.
That is correct.
And then I see that the director of operations is the one that will, because what has happened in the past with the managers is that they were also doing the day-to-day, and so they couldn't do the other functions that were necessary. So I'm assuming that that has been separated. And then a development officer, of course. We haven't had a development officer in quite a while, I think.
That is the proposal that we have here, Madam Chair, and it's for that intent to start generating revenue. I believe we have the next 3 years, that we have a balanced budget because of the revenue that came from the state and the additional $1 million that's coming. Hopefully will give us the 4th year. What we're also proposing is for the 5th year that we can use the gains from the endowment, the KVCR endowment as well. They generate about $2 million extra. that we then transfer to KVCR, so we're proposing that $2 million also gets transferred to KVCR, gains from the endowment, not the principal, it's the gains only.
Trustee Reyes.
Just a comment and more of a compliment. There were a lot of people that were very concerned that KVCR was going to be restructured and all that. We need to capitalize on those individuals that made a commitment that they were going to help us in terms of maybe generating some, some people that can donate for KVCR, because KVCR is very well respected. So I think we need to capitalize on that. So Chancellor, please follow up on that. Some of the individuals that were really dedicated and said, I'll
That
help.
will be the job of that
Yeah.
development director, and it will need all our help.
Yeah.
Yes.
But part of the community input that the chancellor was talking about was that in some quarters, we're going to have to rebuild some trust.
Yeah.
We do.
And so we have, because of the turnover that we had for a while there, that we lost trust with some of our donors. So we need, that's something that whoever takes that position is going to have to do. So
Yes.
I wanted, I'll wait until the end, because I went through this.
I thought you were at the end, I thought we said we were.
I went through this report, which I put into my little notebook, and it's a huge report with tons of data.
Yes.
It's a really good history about the KVCR, and the financial data is in here. So I know that I asked for a paper copy because I like to go from one section to the other.
Yeah, and Chancellor.
But I have to say that if you have not looked at it, if you have not read it, please do so. I think an awful lot of your questions will be answered that way.
Yeah, and forgive me, I just missed the Go Denver, what is it?
Govinda.
I just missed the email, and I just figured, like, because we talked, I'm like, well, maybe they want to wait till we get there to see the plan, and I didn't think to ask, hey, where's the plan? Yeah, I didn't see it. This is the first time that I
The
saw
plan
it.
is extensive, guys. It's really extensive, and it's good reading.
So when do we ask questions?
Yes.
He's done with the presentation.
Okay.
All right, Jose.
So to answer some of the comments and some of the questions, definitely, we're looking at the 3 positions that are already in the budget. Two of the positions are vacant, and one of them is an interim. Tony is the interim. So what we're proposing is modifying the general manager job description to executive director. We're modifying the Director of Broadcast Media System to Director of Operations, and then the Director of Corporate Strategy to the Development Director. It's with the intent of accomplishing what we mentioned, is generating revenue, but also getting the community involved as well into KVCR. That's one of the biggest comments that we heard when we had the community engagement, was that people are willing and are eager to partner with KVCR. They want to come, they want to help us create content, they have ideas, how can we help you, what can we do to make sure that we create partnerships. So the development director, yes, one of the main jobs is to start creating ideas, cultivating relationships. I know that some of you work in nonprofits, and you know that it takes time to generate revenue. It takes time to generate those relationships. So we feel that with those 3 years, with the grant that we have, it will provide the flexibility to this development director to be out there and start cultivating those relationships, start rebuilding the trust in the community. In addition, the executive director will help this person as well. Will be the main phase of KVCR, is start creating partnerships with the K-12, start creating partnerships with the universities, with the county superintendent schools, we just signed, I think we signed the agreement already, the county superintendent schools, that we got an RFP. We won an RFP to create a show, Learn With Me, for 3 years, which is going to be an amazing partnership. $1.3 million RFP. It's amazing. But these are the type of things, Madam Chair, that you mentioned. We put everything on the general manager in the past. The general manager was supposed to do it all. Manage the station, manage the budget, manage the fundraising, manage the community outreach, which was not there in the past, in my opinion. So now what we did, we broke out these positions with that intent. the director of operations will worry about managing the station, with the day-to-day operations of the station, what content is to be broadcast, what do we need to do, the technical piece. The development director will worry about creating opportunities. The executive director will worry about helping the development director create opportunities and also developing the partnerships and be the face of KDCR as well. So broke those three positions a little bit more in tune with what we think you asked for, and that's what we're presenting and recommending.
Thank you.
These three positions, as I mentioned, they're already in the budget. Two of them are vacant, one of them is an interim, so there will be no additional cost to the budget. They're a wash. They're
Trustee
pretty much-
Williams.
Can't understand.
No, I don't have a question,
Okay.
not yet.
We also have contingency planning. We want to be ready, so when in 3 years come, we know what we need to be doing. So the first thing, as we mentioned, is we need to generate revenue from staff. Once we hire these three positions, we want to make sure that we start working on that right away. As soon as they start, we need to make sure that we start generating the revenue. That's the first item. Second thing that we're already doing, we're not going to wait for the first one to see if it works or doesn't work. We're already doing the advocacy, Chancellor Rodriguez just mentioned. We just did an ask for the state of 15 million one time and 5 million ongoing. Hopefully it pans out, but that's what we're asking for. That's the advocacy that we're asking as well. I mentioned the use of unrealized gains from the Kvcr endowment. There's about $2 million that we have in there that haven't been used. And again, not touching the principal, just the unrealized gain that we're recommending as well. If those three things don't work, then let's start thinking about possible pursuing a parcel tax of $1 a month. That $1 a month, which is, in my opinion, not significant, $12 per year, will generate about $3.5 million for KVCR. We have about 300 parcels within our district. Keep in mind, it requires two-thirds vote. Two-thirds as a parcel tax, it requires two-thirds, but that's another contingency plan. If that doesn't work, then we can start looking, okay, can we sell the station to someone? So like a partner like San Manuel, are they willing to come and take conversations with us? If that doesn't work, then we need to start really looking into significantly reducing expenditures. And that comes in the form of content, in the form of staffing, in the form of contract, in the form of anything. That we don't want to get to the last two items. We want to be successful with the first three, and if not, look for number 4, but hopefully we don't get to number 3, 4, or 5, but that's the intent. That's a contingency planning.
Yep.
Well, I think,
Trustee Reyes?
I think that the advocacy,
Making sure, is that the end?
So,
No, there's still,
They're starting.
we still need to go strategic direction number 3, please.
I think we're being very, not as aggressive in terms of the federal. I think $1 million from the federal is nothing. I think they have a lot more, and I think that if I'm willing to set up appointments with our elected officials in DC,
I would
because...
imagine that that would be something to consider during the...
Yeah, because I think it's really important to do that. There's money there, there's money, and so $1 million is nothing from the federal.
We will get back to you on that. So continue with your presentation, please.
So that was strategic direction number 2. Strategic direction number 3, this one is, I think, the easy one, and there's not much explanation. But there was pretty much what it is to provide TV and radio content relevant to the SBCCD community. When we had the community engagement conversations with both employees and community, we heard a lot. We want to hear our stories. There's so much talent here in our region. Let's use our talent. There's so much to do. I want to see myself on TV. I want to hear myself on radio. There's so much desire to hear and have content that is relevant to our community, that's what they want to see. So what we're proposing is that we continue broadcasting PBS, we continue transmitting NPR, we continue to be the only Native American station in the country with FNX. And as Valley and Crafton develop content, then that it gets also transmitted through KVCR. We also did a lot of research we want to make sure that we didn't lose the grant that we get from the federal government. We receive $1 million, about $1 million from the federal government on an annual basis in the grant CPB. So we wanted to make sure that we remain eligible for that grant, but there's some eligibility criteria. So one of the things that we found out was that we are able to transmit up to 12 hours per day a KVCR that is locally generated, and we won't lose that certification. So we will continue to get those funds. So that's what we're considering, as well as the students and the campuses generate content, and where we create content with the community, we can set aside up to 12 hours per day whenever we want, and we won't lose that funding. The other thing that we also have, we can broadcast digitally online. We can do remote. We can transmit anywhere we want, anytime we want, and we can do that 24/7 as well at the same time. And that is it.
Okay, Joseph.
You have one
There's a
more?
timeline. Sorry, there's a timeline. Timeline.
He's not through yet.
You want me to go to timeline?
Hey, I'm
Yeah, okay.
waiting till you
All right. So hopefully you're able to adopt this KVCR Inspiring Possibilities Plan. We're in March 2022. If you approve the plan, part of the plan includes the payback of a temporary loan the KVCR has with the district. There are a couple loans that we want to make sure that they get paid back right away, and that will happen in April. The board approval, we will bring the job descriptions to you in May with those the five job descriptions that are there to make sure that you see them. The hiring of KVCR staff, we're giving ourselves until December. We want to make sure that we spend the right amount of time, develop a pamphlet especially for the executive director of KVCR, to make sure that the community knows that we're not looking for a general manager, we're looking for an executive director. Interns, as I mentioned, we already have interns, but we're not going to stop there. We're going to continue with that. The facility remodel is going to be completed by May 2023. The hiring of IMA staff by December 2022 as well. Provide TV content ready for the community, again, is complete and ongoing as the students and the community develop more content. We'll increase that content as well. We will provide you with semi-annual reports. The first report we will give you is in September, then we will give you reports 6 months every thereafter. That is it.
The end. Trustee Williams.
He made me think of Oprah when he started talking about, I want to hear myself on the radio. I thought he was going to say, you get a show, you get a show, you get a show. So I think I'm really good and supportive of the general direction of like where you guys are wanting to go with the station, with the hiring and those kind of elements of it. I would personally like more board education on just parcel tax and how it works. Because my preference is like, if we're going to go to the voters, I want to support the district, not just KVCR, and just understand what we give up if we say we just support a parcel tax for KVCR and not look at, just the district overall. So I just would like to be able to have that conversation. I'm good on the station part, but what I'm not feeling like I have clarity on is the academic program and what it is and how students really access that. I would have liked to see our Vice President of Instruction here really, talking about what the academic program is going to be like. Because I see the course offerings, but when you look at the catalog, I don't see the connection to it. And so I just want to understand that better. And then what are we estimating our FTS projections to be? Am I understanding it that KVCR, or am I just saying it and you guys are just saying, yeah, KVCR is going to help with generating FTS, but does that go back to the station or is that the college? And I'm not really getting firm in the college connection to KVCR. I really get that we're trying to settle the studio part, and I'm great on that part. So, I still have questions about that. And then the way that the license affects our ability to do other things. We talked about, do we have the ability to split channels out so that way we can have a commercial channel that's not affected by the limitations that PBS brings? I really would like to know the answer to that question. I still really want industry input. I would like for us to go to Hollywood, if you guys could, for the board, so we can just have some fun too, and just get a good understanding, because I don't know if the classes that are being proposed is what industry is looking for. I don't know if Sony or if we're even thinking about the new, mobile media world, and are we training students to be successful in the gig work and all of this dynamic social media content that folks are producing? Are we getting that? I don't want to have a 1980s program when, folks are talking about the metaverse and all of the blockchain and, all of that other, that might not be related to this, but content that was already created. What happened to the Goldie Show? Do we still own that content? Because when Mark was here, remember, they sold us on all the shiny stuff, and it was great, and then, where's all that content? Do we still own it? Can it be built on? Those were decent shows. We had a show where somebody was doing house building, and they had some decent shows. Where is all of that stuff? Do we still own it? And is it revivable? Are we going to go back and talk to those people and say, hey, because a lot of effort went into that, and then it just kind of went away. Are we still going with the Empire Network brand? Because we spend a lot of effort on that, and then now it seems like we're back to KVCR. I haven't really heard about that. What does selling the station mean? When you guys say sell the station, are you just talking about the license? You talking about the building? Because if we're investing all of this in the media program, just because KVCR doesn't make money, then what happens to the student component? I'm kind of confused about that, and I thought we were moving KVCR to the campus, and so departments don't have to make a profit. So why are we still talking about KVCR making a profit?
So if I can jump in, and you had a lot of questions.
Oh, okay. I said I had questions. Stop me when you want. Yikes. Hey, look, I got a list.
I appreciate. I'm gonna try to hit some of them.
Okay, but
some of them.
yes. And I'm not asking for all of the answers today. I'm just saying these are the running things that I still have not heard answers to.
Got it. So on page 20 of the plan, where it talks about FTS generation and career pathways,
have the full
which is one
I
of
have it
your,
here. Yeah, my
which
phone.
is
Yeah.
one of your questions about FTS.
Page 20?
Yes, sir. Page 20 of 44 of the plan. So the campus put forth that initially that they believe that they will be able to fill 17 sections of the VM courses. Right, and that would generate approximately 47 FTES, and when we break that out into dollars, that's roughly $188,000 and some change.
Now, does
So that's
KVCR
it.
benefit for that, or does that go to Valley?
What we like to say is when one entity is benefiting, all of us are benefiting. And so because this is FTES generation.
Yeah.
Just as history generates FTES, just as nursing generates FTES.
Okay, it
goes
spread.
back
Okay.
into the colleges, and the colleges go through their budgeting systems.
Okay.
And cycles, and then do appropriate allocations for each discipline.
Okay.
And I see this working the
Like
same
that.
way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you also asked about Hollywood. If you look on page 22 of 44, we talk there, the latter
Let
part
me
of the
catch up with
page.
you. Hold on, 22. Okay, I got you. Okay.
On the latter part of the page, it says that the Industry Advisory Board includes post-producers for production companies, such as Katie Scoggins, who's well-known on our faculty for her work in Hollywood, Amber Bernard for large company, representation from Sony Pictures and the guilds, and so on. We also have working with companies that include Viacom Studios, Panavision, Univision, and also local companies as well. So I hope that kind of answers your question about the companies and studios that we're working with.
No, I mean, partnerships, I'm not trying to get in the weeds on that stuff. What I'm saying is board education, so that we know what we have. do we have something? Because at one point, you guys may come to us and say, sell it, or you may say, keep it, but I don't know I still don't know, like, the value of having KVCR. I know the value, but I haven't heard, like, from industry experts, like, what is it that we have? Do we have something or do we not? And then are we training the people on the right stuff? And so I'm asking for board education, not the partnerships that you have, but I would like for us to get interested and know, because we've been jumping at everything that's come. Think about how many presentations that we've had.
So,
And we haven't really, and we go, and we just say yes,
Trustee
and then we're
Williams,
disappointed.
we would like to have some industry experts do some futuring with us.
Yeah, I want us to
Say,
get
this is-
educated
This is
about
where we
this.
see the industry going. This is what we think will be possible in the next 3, 5, 10 years.
And the reason why I'm saying that this is important is because we're the ones that always, we got to make the decision, the tough decision about keeping this thing alive or letting it go. And we've been going for how many years, like, in back and forth? Like,
I think I understand. You would like a presentation beyond those industry experts that are currently on our advisory boards. You would like us to bring in additional?
I have never even met these people.
Okay.
You know, so I don't know, if you're saying that these are the folks that, yeah, we should be talking to, all I'm just saying is that, and you guys, if you're not in agreement, I can back off of it, but I need you to tell me, but I'm just asking
So,
for board education
I think
around
what
the
Trustee
thing.
Williams is trying to say is that we need to be educated on what is possible in the future for media. And that would be because we have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah.
If some of this doesn't work, we have some really tough decisions to make.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, are we going in the right direction? I will tell you that when I read all of the media publications, that there is an awful lot of experimentation
Yeah,
out there.
yeah.
A lot of things that are going on that have failed. They've learned from them. They've developed other things. I see daily, just on social media, different kinds of things that are being experimented with. So I don't think we're going to find people. That's why I call it futuring, because it's a lot of guessing, it's a lot of experimentation, and we have to be prepared in some way to fail at some things. Trustee Houston.
I have a question. So I think you all know that I am a commissioner for the Council on Occupational Education. We accredit about 700 schools across the country, and they're all occupational training programs. So my question is, how often do we have our industry advisory meetings?
Do you know? I don't have the answer for that. Do you-
I know from the accreditation standards that are federally approved via accreditation for occupational training programs, industry advisories need to occur twice per year in order to be validated by the federal government. So my question stems from that connection to industry, that ongoing connection to industry. In addition to those advisory meetings, the faculty that teach in the programs have to maintain constant contact, and it has to be validated. That's part of the accreditation process. I understand we're not accredited by Council on Occupational Education, but just for a foundation on occupational programs. My other question related to that, and maybe to piggyback on what Trustee Williams was saying, is this an academic program or an occupational training program? I believe that accreditation standards are going to be different depending on the approach. So that would be my input on that, and there are Department of Labor dollars, to speak to Trustee Reyes, at the federal level, available for programs that are feeding into the pipeline associated with this industry sector. So I think that there are some elements that would help provide clarity to the board. If we had the answers to those types of questions, it might help us. I don't necessarily need to be at your advisory meetings, nor do I need to meet your advisors.
Yeah.
But I would like to know that the processes that we are following are in alignment with either accreditation standards specific to occupational training programs, if that is in fact what we're doing, and/or accreditation standards associated with occupational training programs, if that is in fact what we're doing. I'm seeing nodding that I think we are wanting to be in line with the industry with this program, but there are some differences from the compliance places, and those are intentional and by design, because industry changes faster than our academic programs might change.
Yeah, and we said we were going to invest in our own education, you know, like, there's no training to be a director of a media company. I didn't get any training, but I'm tasked with making those kind of decisions, and so I think we should have some education on it, just for our own growth and professional development. Last question. There was a student, he said that when you're a member of SCAG, I believe it is, or when you work on a PBS production, you get some type of credit that means something to SCAG. Yeah, is that a thing or is that not a thing? Okay, so like, can we, like, I don't ever hear us talk about, like, it's an added value for students, right? to be
Very much, it's an added value for anyone in the industry.
Yeah, so like, does anybody else, like, can anybody like expound? Tony, you know what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
IMDb is thank you. Thank you very much for letting me address you all today. IMDb is the Internet Movie Database. It is the standard when working in the industry. Basically, if I were to be doing a project with you, I would look up your IMDb and see that you have been credited by working on something. It's how I would know that you've been actually working.
Okay.
At the station, if there is something that's broadcasted, you get an IMDb credit. So all the shows that we made a couple years ago, those teams that worked on those shows got IMDb credit. It is one of the fundamental advantages to having students start creating content and going through the pipeline, even if they're working at the low levels, the trade levels, let's say, right, what we would call below the line. So if they're working as an assistant, they'll still get an IMDb credit. It'll go into their portfolio, which we've talked about online portfolios with the IMA Academy. So when they leave, they'll have the ability to not only have the credit, which is registered in the Internet Movie Database, but then they'll have an online portfolio too as well. So it is part of the program. It is part of what the PBS license provides, is the ability that we are a broadcast network. So that's why you get credit.
That should be branded and sold. I mean, that's that's almost like having an industry recognized certificate.
Well, sorry, if I may. I think that for me, the question is, are we aligning this to be an industry training program, an occupational program, or are we aligning this to be an academic program? Are we trying to do both? Can we do both? Because what you're describing as an industry certification would align with an occupational training program. And maybe that's where we're mushing a couple of things together, and that's where it's a little bit cloudy for us as trustees to kind of try and determine what is the vision? What is the vision for this? You know, because the FTES, that leans academic.
That's academic.
Right? But then the industry certifications and those lean occupational training program. What do our advisors say? Do you need to have this be an academic degree program or not? I don't know. And those are the kinds of things that are still a little bit, with all of the, and I did read this, with all of that, the muddiness for me is like, that's really my question. Is this intended to be an academic program or an occupational program? And there are distinct differences. I mean, our faculty, our teams, our leaders have identified that there are differences.
And that would make a big difference on the job descriptions of who we hire, I would think.
Because do we have other academic programs that have to sing for their supper? Like that they have to generate funding to, like, not FTS, just funding from outside funders?
Not the campuses, no. All of the programs I'm speaking, jump in, President.
I can try to jump in on that, the question about the program. So the curriculum is approved through our process.
Okay.
So it's all a part of our accreditation. The partnership, the relationship is giving the students hands-on experience. So they're still getting the credit, they're getting the learning that's happening through our courses that are approved, through our processes. So from that piece, it's following all of our protocols. So those students are getting the, and with the lab piece, it's the ability to go in and actually do the hands-on. Part of I give the example of one of our faculty members, our lead, Professor Coney. He is connected to the industry. He stays up to date on all of the latest things that are occurring. And I know he has been meeting with Kvcr very closely to make sure that whatever our students are experiencing, it's helping them get jobs in the industry or transfer to schools in our area who can then continue their education. I know in the presentation it talked about through the program, a lot of our students are able to take that skill set and go straight to work. So they're building on the units, the curriculum. So the curriculum is set, and they continue to review it and, modify it as appropriate based upon their conversations with the content area experts. Now, I've been fortunate enough to watch them in action, seeing them in the studio. I was in the studio last week recording, and actually Paul was there as well, our student, but with Kdcr. And so having that connectivity and the ability for the students to be in there, use the equipment, have the hands-on experience, and then they also get the instructional academic support, so they're getting that. So if they have a certificates from Valley College, or a degree from Valley College, they take that with them with the hands-on from the equipment and whatnot with Kdcr. So it definitely is beneficial. It's become a collaboration, and I say that because I've seen it, and I've been in there working with students who assisted with podcasting, with filming, and things along those lines. So having it from a firsthand experience, but also from how our processes are followed through our curriculum development from our faculty, and making sure that what we're teaching is relevant. And I think with the way our students have been placed and continue to get opportunities, it's been effective. But it's an ongoing conversation that those faculty have to make sure that whatever we're providing is beneficial so our students can go get jobs. And I know part of it does show some of the career trajectories in the presentation. And that's really what our goal is, to get students to either get to work or to transfer on to build out so they can do, the jobs in the industry. And the names that are listed are the industry standard bearers. And so having access to them, those companies, and those students being able to learn as they go is definitely a benefit.
So it sounds like it's a hybrid.
I don't know. I would say, the advisors inform the curriculum. Do the industry advisors inform the curriculum?
I would
If
say
they make a
input.
recommendation, does the curriculum get changed?
The advisory does inform where the direction is going. Curriculum takes a while to develop. I think you mentioned that earlier. But yeah, the advisory groups are saying this is what these students need to have to be in this field. And that's what's helped when the faculty are developing curriculum. They're saying we need to get these classes or certificate programs in place so students can benefit, right? So they're staying on pace with the trend that's going on. And we know a lot of it is moving fast right now with some of it, and just trying to make sure we're keeping up. And I think our faculty do a good job of staying on pace and then getting ahead of those, anticipating what's next.
Is the pace every 6 months that it's updated?
Yeah, no.
Well, a curriculum takes about a year to go through a
Okay,
process.
so then it's not an occupational training program,
Yeah.
it's an academic program, which is no harm, no foul. I'm just trying to
But-
assess what it is we're building.
But I think we got to give that input on what we want, because the thing that I think we miss is that,
Mike.
the thing that I think that we miss is we focus on the media companies, but there's all kind of corporations that have whole internal media departments, but they're not listed in the dot codes as the same as these jobs. Like, they have whole teams of people that just And so you miss out on all of those sections of job openings, and so what do they think? What are the skills that those companies need? Like, are we talking to those folks, or are we just talking to film people? And like, so what I'm saying, industry, like, there are a whole bunch of companies out there in this community, in this area, who are hiring people that would benefit from, these different type of skill sets that KVCR theoretically could offer. But I don't know, like, we haven't, talked about it. So, like, I don't know if these courses are current. Like, are we teaching people how to use Blender? Like, that's an industry standard kind of thing for animation. Like, is that within our works? When you read the catalog, you see all of those kind of things. And so I know at some of the high school students are learning these really advanced technologies, but when I look at ours, the wording is still, like, we still say computer graphics. I don't even really know what that is anymore. Like, and so, but when you go look at some of the high schools, that's not what they're talking about, and that's not what the industry is using. So when we're saying it takes us 2 years or a year to develop curriculum, it makes me kind of concerned about, okay, so what are we really building? We're making a big investment. Are we just building for people to work on KVCR technology, or is it industry technology? And that's the question that I still don't know. I don't know if that's clearer, but I don't know the answer to how current is this stuff.
Well, I think to follow up on what you're suggesting is, for example, Esri in Redlands has an enormous media department, and they do their own photography and their own everything. All the production is there. That's outside of the regular, what we think of as the industry out of Hollywood. So, yeah, major corporations like that are doing these things. They have got all their internal stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's an excellent point.
Edison has journalists. They write a whole, energized by Edison. It's not a newspaper, but they have journalists that just, all they do is write and manage social media content. It's like a whole team of them. Yeah. The gas company has the same structure.
Trustee Longville.
They're in here. They're in here.
Longville.
Does anyone in this room?
Your mic.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Does anyone in this room know Kdcr? The first name listed there is our industry advisory board includes post-producers for production companies such as Kdcr.
I don't know.
Does anyone know in this room who Kdcr is?
No, I do not.
Okay. Is this on now again? Okay. I'm not sure that this is the case, but I'm going to speculate that it could be someone in the film industry. Do you think that's possible?
Could be.
And if so, that they've misspelled her name, there's no S on the end, it's Kdcr, who has won, I believe, what is the film on the exposure of the guy who was the American who exposed all the information about illegal activities? What was that?
Snowden?
Snowden, yeah. What was the film about Snowden? The big...
Snowden, I don't know.
It was a like 1 or 2 word film.
Yeah.
She was one of the directors of that film and got an Oscar for it.
Yeah.
Got an Oscar for it.
Yeah, there's no S. Yeah.
There's no S on the name, if it's the same one. If it's not, then I don't know who the heck it is. I was just curious if anybody knew it. But I have to say, my confidence in the reliability of the information, my confidence in the information that we've got in these slides is not strengthened by the fact that nobody knows who that person is, and they chose that as the most prominent person to know.
So how do we, if I'm reading the comments correctly, how do we choose the direction or be flexible enough to have a direction where we have an academic part that would go toward an A degree to transfer somewhere, along with a certificate program that will get people in the industry whether they're interns or whatever. I can tell you right now that most of the people who are going into some of the industry are not coming out of community colleges.
Yeah.
They're coming from work experience, working for small entities, getting the experience, getting the writing, getting the whatever it is that they're doing. I can tell you at Crafton that when we had a Cisco systems class, that most of them got hired before they graduated because Cisco needed those people to set up networks and really good salaries. So how do we put into this plan the flexibility to be able to go in those directions so that we're not stuck in one path?
I was just wondering, Dr. Thayer, I'm still processing what you were saying. And sometimes I work better in analogies. So are you saying that we have an academic program and really the lab for that academic program is Kvcr? Like a lab for, insert another academic program might be. I mean, it could be a science lab, or would it be like, if I'm trying to think of maybe a more industry-focused type lab?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty accurate assessment, because when you have the classroom learning of the curriculum, then you have application.
Right.
And that's a big part of it, like theory and practice, right? You actually get your hands on to work with the actual equipment that you'll be using in the industry.
So maybe would it be like our health industry sector programs, where then we would place someone into a clinical environment to do the hands-on? So it would be, except instead of the hospital, we don't own the hospital. We have agreements to place students in, I'm just going to say hospital for sake of argument, on a clinical setting. We own the hospital in this scenario, and we are using our hospital, again, in this scenario for that purpose. And is that really the purpose?
No, it can't be.
That's my question.
Yeah, so,
I mean, is that the purpose? Like, is it that? Or is it that plus, that something else?
if we agree to that, like, that's so limiting. Like, if we're a medical program, there's, like, how many hospitals here in the Inland Empire, right? We're the only TV station, so we can't just train everybody to go work at Kdcr. But there are skills that people can use that they can have their content go on Kdcr, the graphics and all of those different things. I feel like, and I'm still trying to get an answer to the question, is that it just feels like, okay, we co-opted the current courses that we already offer and then just aligned it to Kvcr and saying this is the academy. I thought the original part was the Art Institute was here. They were offering all of this advanced, media stuff. They're gone. That is a void. Like, we would be training on the advanced stuff, not just continuing with the same curriculum. And I don't know if that's what we're doing, or did we add new curriculum to fit where we're currently at? We got all of this new equipment in there. We spent $16 million on that. But these look like the classes from the catalog from before, and that's the part that I'm not understanding is, are we evolving the academic program to be like with the current day? I see the alignment of where the media curriculum and all of that stuff is just being aligned. But, what was the lady's name that was building the academy and she retired? She retired, she was our CTE person.
It was Donna something, I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought she was building a pathway with new classes and new curricula. That was 5 years ago, so I thought it was going to be new curricula coming into the, am I missing it? I'm asking. Just about the academic side. I'm not talking about the station side anymore, y'all. I'm supportive of where you need to go with the station, the staffing, and, but I still have questions about the academic component.
So Trustee Longo.
See if I do this right now. Am I on?
Does that make sense?
Hopefully it's live. I'm going to take my mask off. It's easier to understand one another without the mask when we're talking. A couple of things. I think Joseph said something there that was, I think, very significant, and I don't know if we've focused closely on it. We just spent a whole, there's a technical term for it, but I won't use it because I'm not president of the U.S. There's a whole bunch of reasons why we spent, I believe it was many millions of dollars on upgrading our equipment. I can't remember how. 16, was that it?
Yeah, it might have went up to 19, I don't know.
19 million. So that our equipment should be amongst the most current stuff any, TV stations out there and radio stations are using. I mean, pretty up to date. We're not using old term equipment that limits our ability to teach modern courses. Is that correct? If there's anyone from staff who knows that I am saying something incorrect, please correct me.
Is the latest?
Pretty close. Is it pretty close?
You are correct in many areas, yes. So the $16 million went into two areas. It went into the broadcast tower, right? That was part of the agreement that we had to do. So a significant amount of that money went to rebuild that tower. That tower is beautiful and ready to go, and it's broadcasting. Okay. The other amount of money went inside the tech core, and the tech core was updating up a lot of the equipment, and it went into all the computers and the systems that are in what we called at the time the post-production lab, which is now becoming the hybrid media lab that we've been presented with today in the plan. So if you were to look into those spaces, you would see all brand new equipment, all brand new software interconnecting into the tech core, and no more real simple terms, no more external hard drives. Everything is fiber optically connected, and media is able to transfer within the building by this, right? The last component to modernize this, that was one of the most significant components we did, was live stream. So at the end of the process of that modernization, we fixed the tower, we fixed the way we pass media within, we built out the studio with all new equipment, 4K capability, so we could push it into the tech core and manage it, process it, and edit it.
All 4K?
All 4K. We deliver mostly in 1080p though still.
No, I understand.
But we have that ability. But at the end of the day, the last component was that online live streaming. So when you're talking about where is the industry going, COVID has pushed tons of statistics, and we can go and pull that, and we talked about it a little bit, online, right? Live streaming. Currently, the station has the ability to do 2 live streaming channels. We have our 4 broadcasting channels, and we have 2 live stream channels in there. Those 2 live stream channels can be manipulated just like a playlist. Those 2 live stream channels and anything over the internet is separately regulated than necessarily broadcast channel. The broadcast channel is beholden to our FCC educational license.
And those are 2 channels for that?
And there's 4. We run 4 broadcast channels. FNX being one, .1 the primary being 2, Create being one of them, and a channel for what's called Desert Cities is the 4th. So in relation to, just basically sum up, yes, the station is prepared from an operational standpoint with new technology.
And Crafton got some technology too, to do some media too, right?
Yes, they did.
Crafton got some stuff, they got some real.
Yeah, as well, but the key reason, the point I wanted to make, in playing off of your earlier comment, Joseph, is there is no reason for us, if we are doing this, and I'm not saying that we are, but there's no reason for us to be penny-wise and pound-foolish if we've got all the necessary equipment to be providing our students with an extraordinarily advanced education, in effect, pretty close to the state of the art. But there's like one piece somewhere that, to save money, we're not doing, and it prevents us from providing anywhere near as advanced instruction as we could be. We're not doing that. Is that correct? That we are not doing that?
Being cheap, I think is what he's saying.
No.
that we are not playing penny wise and pound foolish. We're not doing that, are we?
So I'm going to answer that question very simply by saying this is the moment to make these decisions because we are prepared and we are not being cheap. And we have not been cheap through the process.
Okay.
But as has been pointed out, the industry is evolving,
Yes.
right? And it constantly evolves.
Yep.
And that's going to be, continuing to be the case. But right now, we're started out at a, not way the hell behind. We are not people who need to catch up with somebody else. We're out there among the leaders.
So we have several people that want,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
trustee Houston, trustee Williams, and then trustee Beardsley.
Okay, so the three elements, right, the student element, the sustainable funding, and the local content, they are connected, but there are distinct differences. So the student element is where I've been focusing my questions, right, to you, Dr. Thayer, and all of that. The sustainability is the sustainability of KVCR as that hospital, as that lab space, right? And then if that is a sustainable hospital, I have to talk that way, otherwise I don't get it, then we will be in the position to develop the local content. So if the student piece somehow is not connected, let's just hypothetically say that, just because maybe it's hard to do, or I heard trustee Williams saying that the content needs to be updated, the program looks like programs that we've seen from 5 years ago, the curriculum, whatever. If the KVCR is sustainable as an operating station that can develop local content, the other pieces of connecting the students with the up-to-date curriculum, although that may take longer than what we'd like to see, is still viable. Right? So I'm just trying to focus on those three pieces. Because when I separate them, even though they're connected, they're still very separate, and you need to have sort of that centerpiece of sustainability of KVCR, and then from there you can go either direction. You can develop local content, and you can connect better to provide a lab for the students that is an up-to-date lab. But an up-to-date lab, I'll just end with this, an up-to-date lab absent up-to-date curriculum is possibly troublesome.
Correct.
Yeah. So, yeah. So to follow with that, right? So we have the hospital that we just upgraded, right? To keep it, we upgraded. We have top of the line equipment that we upgraded. The relationship to bring students is brand new, so it's continuing to evolve as we move forward. Brand new. So we don't have everything that you're asking for at the moment, but it's part of the envisioning that could potentially happen if we continue to evolve as we move forward, as we bring students into this hospital, right? The conversations will continue to happen. The curriculum will continue to get modified. And as they see what is happening out there, what is happening with media, we're gonna go digital, we're gonna go live stream, we're gonna go different thing. Our hopes is the partnership that we have with the curriculum evolves, that the curriculum changes to match what is happening out in the market. So that's the connection, and that's the relationship following that. It's too early right now, it's very early. We just started that relationship. There was no students in our hospital. Now we're bringing students to our hospital. We're going to have 6 students in our hospital. Very early to do a lot of major changes.
Yeah. Trustee Williams.
Yeah, I just would like that part to be stronger. I don't want to hold, I don't want to ask permission. I want the curriculum to get worked in in a timely fashion, not projecting. What I would like, similar to how you do the salary study, I'd like to see a study of all of the media programs in the state and compare it to ours in terms of current industry standard stuff. Because when you read the course catalog, a lot of the terminology in some of the classes, the terminology is not used in the industry. And so, but the classes are still in the books, and you can still register. And so I just like to know, am I tripping, or like, so if we can, and because I'm not the expert, I'm just telling you, my reading of it is like, this is not what folks are using anymore. And then even, like, when you read it, the detail that is in there, like, I can't even, my mom's 75, and the reason why I know, my mom's 75, and she's looking for something to do. So she was like, I'd like to take a desktop publishing class. I'm like, yeah, they don't really call it that anymore, it's not that. And so, I had her register, and so she was looking, the terminology in the course curriculum is, you can't tell what, am I gonna be learning Adobe, like, and so what I'm just trying to understand is, like, what are we training people on? Is it industry, like, 2022, like, where is that, or are we 2000? And, like, that's what I'm trying to ask. I'm not judging where it is, but I would like to be told, like, well, where are we at? Like, how modern is the curriculum?
Trustee
Classes.
Barisel. And then trustee Gonzalez, and then trustee.
Answer that question?
You understand what I'm trying to say? Like, because these are the same classes that we've been approving for years. They keep coming back through. It's the same class.
Just as a glimpse, we didn't list all of the courses in here, but just as a glimpse, right, on page 20, it does talk about new curriculum being developed. We didn't put in every single new curriculum course in there, but it gives you a glimpse of that. It also references on page 16 that the existing courses will be reviewed for today's learning and so on, and expanded through the curriculum and program review process. Now, the state of California has all California community colleges, right, that we have to follow a program review process for accreditation purposes. And that process, because it involves multiple constituent groups, takes time. And that's part of our ability not to be as nimble as we would like with the academic curriculum. So
I think we need to, because I guess I keep operating under the assumption that this stuff was already in the works when we funded the Media Academy. How many years ago did we fund it? Because that's what we would, remember?
About 3 years ago.
Yeah, so like that's what Bruce was saying when Bruce was here. And so my assumption is, well, the campus is still a campus just because we changed the chancellor. The work should have still continued.
And it did.
the campuses weren't always given clear direction on how it should proceed.
Okay.
But we did spend a lot of money on these media academies, and so
Yeah.
I would like to know, well, what happened to all of the money then if the stuff didn't get developed? Did it get spent? Is it sitting, or, because
Trustee Barisal, I
Crafton
do.
was building a whole advanced media academy is what I understood, maybe right, or no?
Yeah, unfortunately, President Horan couldn't be here, but they did develop the media at Crafton, and that's the conversations that Tony's having with the faculty member over there at Crafton. It has been developed. They purchase equipment at both media academies, at both sites as well. I know that Valley, and you might be better to answer this, but I know they purchase equipment as well to make sure that the students had the latest technology as well to train on as well. That happened when the funding took place. So it was developed. A Crafton, like I said, it was developed. It is currently one of the programs that is advertised as well. Valley, I know they've been working. I know they developed that new curriculum that Chancellor Rodriguez mentioned. They developed that new curriculum over the past few years. But that is the process, again, like going with that same hospital. As the hospital is teaching the students, they're going to realize, hey, what we're learning in the classroom might not be the same thing that we need to practice in the hospital. We need to start changing what we're teaching our students in the classroom so that they can learn, so they can perform better at the lab. But it's that, and that's the process that it's going to go through program review every single year. But again, the relationship here is very young, very, very young. We have 6 students at Kdcr. With the hopes is that we're going to keep bringing more students, and that we see this alignment and those updates that we said that we were going to give you. You gave me a lot of ideas as to what kind of updates we need to bring you. I'm taking a lot of notes as to, okay, we need to get more together with the dean, with the faculty, and start looking, okay, what are these advisory groups that you have, what is that they're giving you, what kind of feedback are they giving you, and bring you those updates to you as well, and start letting you know how is this curriculum evolving, if it's evolving, as we are learning in this new relationship that we have.
I'm hoping let's go back to how do we build into this plan the flexibility to be able to make changes? We realize the curriculum process takes time. I don't know enough about career technical, whether the process is shorter to get a certificate and that kind of thing. So we should be able to do that. I look at our nursing program, I look at our paramedic program, who have they meet on a regular basis. They have a really good relationship with people in the industry. They know that such and such a thing is no longer being done as a procedure, they immediately change it. So they spend 1 year in theory, 1 year in lab, and 1 year on hands-on, sort of. That's basically, it can be less time, but that's basically what we're talking about. And how do we build in that flexibility to be able to change the program, even given our process of curriculum approval and all of that? So how do we build that? How do we say that in this plan so that we give permission to the presidents, to each campus, to KVCR, to be able to do that?
So I think if I can, I was just going to jump in if that's okay.
Yeah, Gonzalez. He had his hand up. Oh, you're next.
Well, it's okay, she's about to answer your question, and then I'd like to ask.
Okay.
In terms of how do we ensure flexibility, all of the plans that we put forward today are really to be fluid, right? Because the environment changes, the dynamic changes, and so on. What I think I'm hearing, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that the board is comfortable with the general direction of this plan. However, there are still some questions about the academic side of it and how we're moving forward with the curriculum and so on. And one of the things that wasn't mentioned is that the Media Academy and the work through this is also a part of our guided pathways planning as well. So what we can do is bring back, as we update you on the plan and where we're going, and you saw the timeline, is to bring back the information that answers the questions that you all have and to show how we're implementing the work that you all wish to receive. If the timeline is not fast enough, we can adjust the timeline.
Thank you for that, 'cause
We can adjust the timeline.
I'm cool with the station part, but I'm not cool with the timeline, I'm not cool with the academic program, I'm not supportive of it at all. I don't think that we're all on the same page with the direction. Like, I don't know if we're given a clear direction. Like, if you ask, is it an occupational program, is it an academic program? I didn't hear a consensus of what the desire is. I feel like the board should be able to have some kind of say in the program review process, in the like priority of a program and how long it takes. We should be able to ask for a shorter timeline. It shouldn't take 3 years, 2 years.
A lot of the processing is not at the discretion of the colleges or the district. It's at the discretion at the state chancellor's office.
You're on the state chancellor's committee?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So when I talk to the deputy chancellor, they say, hey, when they say anything, curriculum takes too long, that's a local decision. And now if you're talking about approval, I'm talking about the development of it. I'm not talking about approval, I'm talking about the completion of actual curriculum. I understand that it's a process to get it approved, but I'm talking about the writing of it and getting it done. It takes a long time because that's what the campuses just allow. And what I've been told is that's a local decision on how long that process is, because you can go the not-for-credit route, you can go a credit route, or you can go, there's multiple avenues to get curriculum done faster, is what the chancellor's office says. And they don't get involved in that. Their approval process is their approval process. Writing curriculum, it doesn't have to.
I think there might be some misunderstandings there about the different processes and how long it takes. So maybe we can add that. So, both. And so I think maybe we would all benefit from maybe one of those educational pieces that you mentioned. to share with the board the actual process from curriculum, from the beginning stages to completion and the different areas.
Say that there's an emergency necessity, that the region needs something, right? And the board, there's an emergency, or there's just an emergency necessity. How fast can we put together a curriculum? We got $50 million coming to the district, and we got to have this curriculum, we need it now. How fast can we do that?
I don't know that I have a direct answer to that. I know that within the district,
It's happened before.
I know that within the district, we've been
All right.
able to turn around curriculum in 6
I think
months.
I think we have done this to death. So, you were next, if you have another comment to make.
I don't know, so many of my, I keep writing down new ones and crossing them out because they're all good answers. So thank you for answering my questions.
Okay.
And I want to say, as one trustee, I think it's an excellent plan. I really like the plan. I appreciate getting the plan early so I can provide feedback, and a lot of that we've talked about today, and I really appreciate that as well. I have concern about the wording of some of the courses, but as we saw, there is new courses being developed, and there are also new courses in the program. That is correct, right? That's what I'm hearing?
That is correct.
Okay, as well as, the page 16, page 20 stuff. And then the EDCT, the occupational portion of it, is also being developed, correct?
I didn't hear the, I'm sorry, I didn't hear
The
the.
occupational portion, the EDCT stuff is also being developed? Well, perhaps not under EDCT, but is there an occupational portion of the uses of
being developed.
Kdcr?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are exploring that opportunity, yes. I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question,
All
yes.
that's being done. Okay, so are we just really into the weeds here?
With all due respect, yes.
No, I can't, because again, y'all, we've been here how many times with Kdcr? And we do the same thing over again.
No, I have to say, I have to say that this report is very different from the flim-flam reports that we received before.
No, but I want to say that.
Excuse me, it's my turn to speak, sir. But we were told several times that within 5 years, Kdcr would be just rolling in money, and we wouldn't have to worry about all this stuff. If we just had this program, if we just put more money into it, da-da-da-da. This is an entirely different thing.
Yeah, but it's
Let me
inappropriate to
finish,
say that the
please.
board
I do not
cannot
interrupt
ask
you.
its questions.
Please.
It's inappropriate.
Please. And so, one of the things that I don't want to see, I don't want to see this plan stymied. I want it to go forward. We do have some concerns about the development of curriculum and the development of a career technical portion of this. I will tell you that most of the people that went through the early days, I'm sorry to bring in history, of Kvcr, it was not an academic program. The people were hands-on, and the staff at the station were the teachers. They were the teachers. And so we also have to work on changing the attitude of the Kvcr staff so that they see themselves as part of a program and not just the technicians to make sure that PBS and NPR get on the air. I mean, that's the reality that's out there. So we have to show that Kdcr is a learning place, whether they get an AA degree or they get a certificate. It doesn't make any difference. So how do we put this plan forward? I don't want to stymie it because I think this is probably the best one we have had in years as to what is possible with Kvcr. So is there some way to change the approval in the motion? If that is something that somebody wants to do, with the idea that we approve the initial stages of it, do we want reporting back to us in a more timely fashion instead of every 3 months, every month? We have to make that decision, otherwise we're going to be here until midnight with each one of us saying, well, I don't care about this, and I don't care about that, and I don't, da-da-da.
Yeah, so just for the record, like, I think, when board members have questions, we ask our questions. Our board does good. Like, other boards sit until 11 o'clock at night. And just because we have questions, it doesn't mean that we're not being supportive. And if we're not being supportive, that's the board member's prerogative.
No, I agree.
But
I agree.
let me finish. You know, because sometimes we don't ask questions, and then we end up in destinations, and then it's like, oh, well, it's not what I thought it was going to be. And so it's best to get clarity when you're in the moment and ask the question. So just because I'm asking questions, doesn't mean that I don't support the direction, or it just means I got questions, and I want the questions to be answered, and I'm consistent. I ask the same questions for the last 5 years about really for the whole time that I've been on this board about KVCR, and I'm not going to stop asking questions. Like, if I have questions, I'll ask
Trustee
them.
Williams, do you have
I am supportive.
something to
Yes,
add
I
to the
do.
motion?
I do. I'm supportive
Okay.
of the staffing decisions. I would like more frequent updates. I think every 6 months is not doable. I think they need to be as frequent as the president's reports, because we've allowed KVCR to flounder
So put that
for
into a
years.
motion. Put that as an amendment to the motion, please. Put that as an amendment to the motion.
Well, John is the maker of the initial motion. I mean, what I would be supportive of is giving the staff the flexibility to move forward and do what you need to do with the station. I'm not supportive of the curriculum. I still don't understand what it's going to be. I think it's coming together, but I don't know what it is. I don't
So do you
know what
want
we're
to
offering.
report at every session in the chancellor's report?
What do you feel like would be a good frequency to where you can give us something that's meaningful and continue to get feedback and input? And I still would like consensus on that we want board education from some industry folks.
They gave us what they thought was the frequency. That's what's in the plan. I mean,
Every 6 months, I can't.
I'm just
yeah,
saying that
can't do
I think
Yeah.
that question's been answered,
Yeah,
and that they
no.
gave it to us as
Yeah.
they think this is the frequency that would be appropriate based on the plan as it sits and the timeline as it sits today, because it's because of the timeline
If
having.
you all are comfortable with it, I'll back off.
I'm just saying that's what they,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm comfortable or not, I'm just saying they gave us the answer to that in here.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
So did I get an amendment to the motion? Trustee
Chair,
Longo.
Who is the seconder of the motion?
Who seconded the motion?
Okay, if the second...
4 hours ago.
Yeah, if the seconder...
If I remember
We're not gonna
correctly,
have
it was
hour-long
trustee
meetings.
If the
Veracel.
seconder is comfortable with it, I will amend my motion to make it quarterly rather than semi-annual update, because things are moving kind of,
Okay.
we'd like them to move a little slow,
All
a little
right.
faster.
And the seconder of the motion,
And with that being the
was
only...
that trustee Gonzalez? Okay.
Second the
All right.
amendment.
And that's, the motion was general, it's just approving the plan. We obviously have details to fill in,
Right.
everybody understands that.
Okay.
I do note two things I'd like to ask. One is, my impression has been for quite some time, and could no longer be accurate, that there was only one other community college in the state which operates a television station. That's my recollection. It's up in like San Mateo or something.
Well, there's another one. I think
Or
there's-
Marin.
No, there's another one. There's San Diego. There's.
San Diego has one?
San Diego, Pasadena,
And.
I think Marin.
That are community college-operated television stations?
Yeah.
Because I know like Pasadena.
Pasadena might be
has
just radio. Yeah, you're correct, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they do.
You're correct.
But I,
Grossmont Community College, they own their TV station, as a matter of fact. I
okay, well,
recommend-
whatever, it's not crucial to the point at the moment. What I wanted to ask was if our staff could just, if they have not already done so, if they could just make contacts with the other community colleges that operate broadcast facilities in which inevitably must have confronted similar issues from time to time, and just to see if we have been unnecessarily attempting to reinvent the wheel? You know, not that, you know, I don't like innovation and all that, but is there anything where we've just kind of ignored real easy examples that are out there of things we could be doing that could make things easier? So that's one thing to just check. What are these other stations like?
Okay.
And then the second thing was to note, when foolishly I attempted to ask a question of someone who's offering public comment, which I know better than to do, and I'm just, what can I say, I'm just not in 100% shape right at the moment. But the question I had been intending to ask this young student who just finished, I think he said 13, a huge bunch of courses and stuff, and I said, tell me, did they, in the course of all this instruction, did you learn how to edit 1/4 inch magnetic audio recording tape with a single-edged razor blade and an aluminum splicing block with a diagonal slit in it? And I'm quite confident that he would have said no. I'm really, really confident he would have said no, because you're talking about you're on a future. That would have been what we call past. That's something you learn if you want to edit a sound 50 years ago. That is the skill which gave me my job as radio press director of Eugene McCarthy's presidential campaign in 1968, was that I knew how to edit audio recording tape. So it's funny that we're getting back to, that's what the question I was asked was to make the point. And I'm really happy to see the focus of what we're talking about. And we're really looking to teaching students the things they will know and they will need to know to be exceedingly well employable. And thank you everybody for all the work they've put into this.
If there aren't any other comments, I'm calling for the vote.
I have just, you know, going
A
back to
brief
what.
comment.
Just, well, I haven't spoken a lot, so I need to speak a little bit. Everybody's spoken a lot.
Get near to your mic.
One of the things that I wanted to make, and I made this recommendation before, is that some people said that we should go to Hollywood, which would be good, but not as effective as going to visit other community colleges that have a radio and television that they own their own. And the one that is very effective, I was in San Diego, and there I see a commercial by Grossmont Community College. And I'm saying, how did they get that? Are they getting paid for that? So my recommendation, going back to what John was saying, is that we need to go visit other community colleges. I think that we may be a little bit more advanced in some of them, because I don't know if you know, and Gloria, you brought it up, at the very beginning, KBCR was functioning specifically to train people to get a good understanding and transfer to a four-year college. They were not concerned about making money to pay for the station. We should have been doing that, but we didn't do it. Now we're talking about maybe, like Joseph's saying, that in terms of being totally updated, that's what you call workforce development when it comes to certificate programs. There's two different things. A certificate program, you can move faster and you can make sure that, like what you're saying, Joseph, we can, but when it comes to the curriculum, when it comes to the four-year college, you can't do that. You get more people involved, it becomes more complicated. It's not to say that one is better than the other one, but if I want to get a job, we should know better. If I want to get a job, the technical process, the certificate programs, you get 12 units, 16 units, you take them, you go to work. Same thing with this. This is the way I'm seeing this. KBCR has I have a lot of confidence in what you're going to be doing, Jose, so you're going to update us on a lot of the good things. So I think we should move forward with this, and we should be very proud of having KBCR. We just have to do a little bit more research in terms if we are dealing with vocational, or if we're dealing with curriculum that deals with a four-year college that our students are going to transfer to Long Beach or whatever it is. That's what we were, and we're very successful, okay? Not to say that one is better than the other one. All I want to do is get a certificate. We have it in the vocational programs, a welder program, or, whatever. So just keep that in mind. I think we really should go visit, I'm recommending that we go visit Grossmont Community College. It's only 2 hours from here. They have a great television program owned by the college.
So I'm calling for the vote. All those in favor of approving the KVCR plan, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
With the amendment.
With the, as
With the
amended.
Are there any opposing votes? Any abstentions? None. So the KVCR plan is approved with the amendment made to have more frequent
Quarterly.
updates?
Quarterly.
Yeah. Quarterly. And to have, and there was a suggestion, but I don't know, remember right off the top of my head whether the plan was to be mentioned in the chancellor's report.
I think it was just
I don't
quarterly.
think
I
it was
think
part of
the
that.
motion was just quarterly.
Quarterly rather than twice a
Quarterly,
year.
rather than, okay. So the next item on the agenda is the strategic plan presentation. And Jose, I think you're up again. Do we need to take a break? Yeah. A 3-minute break? Is that long enough, guys?
Perfect.
3-minute break just to get up and stretch? Okay.
Yeah, did mine.
The next item on the agenda is the
There's no
San
slide in
Bernardino
the
Community College District Strategic Plan presentation, and I'm going to hand that over to the Chancellor. We have seen this strategic plan before, and we have basically approved it a long time ago.
Thank you, Trustee
So this is
Harrison.
basically an update?
So basically, what we sent out to the group last week, or earlier this week, was the updates that were, and suggestions that were given to us from the subcommittee. So in the report itself that you'll find in Govinda, or if you were delivered a hard copy, we updated the areas that the subcommittee felt they needed a little bit more information in terms of the demographics of our students and some of our communities. So we have incorporated that. There was also a request that we incorporate some language about robotics and the future of robotics and so on, and how we'll train for those. So we've incorporated that as well. The majority of the rest of the report are items that you have heard previously. We also attached the environmental scan to the document if anybody wanted to dive in a little bit deeper and see where we got our information. So this evening, we're happy to answer any questions that you might have in terms of the strategic plan.
Will the folks that are on here get a copy of it? Will they get emailed to them? The ones, all of those names?
Would you use
Yes.
your mic, please?
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry, which people, I'm sorry.
just all of the strategic planning partners?
No, not the entire document itself. We didn't feel that would be appropriate for them to see it prior to the entire board having a discussion.
Will they get a copy of it when it's ready?
When it's ready and complete, it will be a public document that will be posted on all of our sites, and we can arrange for the document to be sent to everyone that participated. We can do that, yes.
Email, I'm not saying mailing.
Yeah.
Is there an action?
It's not agendized for approval today, but if there are no questions, we will have it on the May
April.
agenda.
April.
Oh, I'm sorry, on the April agenda, I'm sorry, thank you.
April agenda.
On the April agenda to be approved.
Okay.
And we're at Crafton, right?
That is correct.
We'll be at Crafton then. Okay. Any questions? None that I can, okay. So at this point, I'd like to adjourn unless there's any objection. And our next board meeting will be April 14th at 4 PM at Crafton Hills College in the LRC building, the auditorium, which is on the first floor.
Yes.
So, and I'm assuming they'll have parking set aside for us somewhere.
Like we used to, or like where should we park? Or does it matter like, because we don't have updated parking passes, do we?
I don't think it matters,
No.
but for convenience, we will email out a map to the board members with suggested places to
Yeah.
park. Yeah, we can do that
One
too.
of the better parking places is behind the library instead of out in one of the other lots.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So fellow board members, we are adjourned. We are adjourned.
Thank you all.